spent years learning how to solve equations and how to memorize facts, but no one really teaches us the skills that we use every single day, like how to hold a great conversation, manage our emotions, or even think clearly. These are invisible skills, things that you're already doing, possibly every hour, but most of us completely ignore them. In this video I want to share 10 underrated skills you're already using without realizing it, and how mastering them can quietly change your life. Hello, my name is Mars and I help high performers design a system to increase their personal and professional focus, productivity and resilience. And we're getting started with point number 1, conversational agility. Meaning, talking, listening, holding up a great conversation. Most people talk daily, but we rarely reflect on how we are actually talking, how we express ourselves verbally. We rarely are good listeners. That means active listening, where we are capable of holding long spaces without it getting awkward. Or how to ask good questions that the opposite of us actually makes them ponder. Or how to be interested in a conversation without showing a body language that shows, I kind of do not want to listen to you, but I do listen to you because you're currently talking. No, but how we're involved in a conversation. And there's one exercise that everyone can do to kind of help themselves and to be more present. And that would be to ask just a single question per conversation. Doesn't have to be more than that. About the opposite person. The more precise that question is and not generalized, the better the conversation is going to be, and the more you strengthen the relationship with that human being. So avoid asking, hey, how you doing? Or what have you been up to lately? But ask, I've heard that you wanted to start this very particular skill. How's that going for you? There's a book that I would recommend to you. It's called How to Win and Influence People. Okay, this one is right now in German, but it's basically by Dale Carnegie, written in the early 20th century. It covers exactly that. How to be nice to other people, how to make other people be interested in you, and how you can be interested in them. But let's now move on to point number 2. It's called metacognition, basically thinking about thinking. What makes us conscious? Here again, we all think, but we rarely analyze how to think. We don't recognize when we're biased, jumping to conclusions quite easily, or even overgeneralize stuff. We rarely self-correct in real time, nor question our own assumptions. Basically, most people think that they are thinking clearly, but they're just following mental habits, mental structures that they've set themselves. In a certain situation, you're thinking that way. Like for example, in school or at work, you would be thinking differently than when you are at home and needing to take care of your household. Both very important tasks, but one is more structured than the other. Again, here's an exercise that you can use. It's called a daily check-in or daily mental check-in, where you can get conscious about what you're thinking about. Just by simply asking yourself the question, what am I thinking about? But why am I thinking about it as well? There's a book that I have personally not read yet, but it's on my shelf for literally years now, and I bought it exactly because of that purpose. It's called Thinking Fast and Slow. It's by Daniel Kahneman or Kahneman or however you pronounce that name. But point number 3 now is pattern recognition. It's used constantly, often throughout social settings, gatherings, where you need to delete sarcasm, tension, can kind of read a little bit of subtext. When it comes to problem solving, I think that's an obvious one. And you do so because with pattern recognition, you are able to navigate the world safely and more efficiently. But again, we never question ourselves, hey, is this actually the right approach? So whenever we come across a new pattern, whenever we get conscious about one, we can ask ourselves, hey, is this pattern correct? Are we just following along with it because this is kind of like what society has told us? A very common example in that area would be whether or not you go to college, or you would have gone to college. If your parents are convinced that by going to college you will have a better future, but if you already have a quite good idea about what you want from life, that you for example want to get your real estate license and move up that ladder, then going to college might not be your to go to. So you question the words of your parents. your parents' validity. And you might come to a different conclusion. But besides college, we rarely really do that. Alright, let's move on to point number 4, which is emotional regulation. We're all managing emotions in one way or another. You've heard of coping mechanisms, probably, that instead of dealing with a certain topic, we try to find comfort by doing something else. But emotional regulation also includes keeping calm throughout chaos, to not react impulsively. Those are very important skills to master because we come across negative feelings. We need to know, eventually, need to learn how to deal with those negative feelings in a way that we don't harm ourselves nor others. There's kind of a slogan that you can use. It's called name it to tame it. So if you come across an emotion, like for example, if I'd be feeling anxious and I'd realize that I'm anxious, then I can take the appropriate steps that help me against anxiousness. Or another example would be anger. If someone is mistreating you, you want to fire back, but instead you actually should sit back for a second and answer and reply consciously. Now, point number 5 would be body language awareness. You're constantly broadcasting some form of subtext. I am right now as well. Either I broadcast confidence, openness, or defensiveness. If I'd be sitting like this here, for example, you probably wouldn't like watching me. But if I'm open, it's a completely different scenario. If I'm smiling, I'm perceived as a happy, inviting person. Well, if I'm grumpy and you don't see any change in my emotions at all, then this video might also be perceived as an emotional number one. But it's not just smiling and have a happy face or being sad like that, but also fidgeting, having something in your hand that you constantly need to do something with, or to bite your fingernails. Eye contact and a good posture. An exercise here that could really improve your overall behavior, your body language, would be to record yourself like I am right now, and then to re-watch it without any music going on, and then to analyze yourself. Hey, who do I represent right there? How do I look like? How do I show myself? Am I confident? Or do I hold myself back from something? This overall is good, obviously, for public speaking, but also for Zoom calls. If you're in front of a camera right now, if you want to start a YouTube channel, then to talk to strangers, or just to friends and family. You're perceived as a completely different person if you just express yourself differently. Point number 6 now is habit design, or the lack of habit design, which itself also is a habit. And that brings me to a very, very, very important point. Everyone who thinks they don't have any routines do have some routines in one way or another. If it would just be as simple as brushing your teeth right after you've eaten something, or right before you've eaten something, or to first dress yourself with your socks, underwear, jeans, or do that in a different order. That's some form of routine. Very, very small ones, but powerful ones. And we have them and use them daily. Habits that are often going undetected still exist. The question at all times is just, are you trying to build good habits or bad habits? Because at all times, all actions lead to the transformation of either an old habit or the creation of a new one. This also includes coping habits, scrolling, snacking, or just zoning out. So a little thing that can help you would be my new systems guideline, where you unlock focus, structure, and momentum in just 7 days. That even if you failed with productivity tips before, and of course all backed up with science-based advice in just 10 minutes a day, and of course it's completely free. Link is down below, you can sign up right now. Doesn't cost you a thing. Number 7 now is social calibration. What do I mean with that? So whenever you are in front of a person, you talk and behave a certain way, and that pattern will rise from person to person. So you adjust your tone based on the individual you're talking with, you shift topics based on their reaction, and are aware of, at least most often are aware of, when to shut up and when to dive deeper. This is a very important skill for leadership, collaboration, and likability. And an exercise that you can use at all times would just be as simple as a vibe check. Whenever you talk to someone, try to identify how they're feeling, and then based on that you can change up your tonality and even the topics that you are going to talk about, and voila, you're already more likable. Number 8 now is the likability with ourselves, an inner monologue, self-talk. The voice in our head, which we all have, is kind of a skill interface. It tells us either that we are really great or that we lack a certain skill. It either motivates or demoralizes. It can reframe events from it being a catastrophic one to it being a challenge. It reinforces our identity from I'm not good at this to if I take these actions, I will get better at this. It's very important to have a very good relationship with yourself. Also because the amount of time that we spend with ourselves on our own increases over time. That does not just mean to generally be nice to ourselves, but to also be able to push ourselves, to be aware of our insufficiencies and how to learn new skills. That we need to learn new skills. This inner self-talk builds confidence. A simple shift is done just by using different words. For example, from I can't, you can from now on use I am learning to. That completely shifts the identity. Point number 9 now is problem framing, which you use every time when you try to decide what the problem actually is. Like, for example, why isn't something not working? What is really going on here? Why do I not get the anticipated results that I so desperately work for? And misidentifying this leads to wasted effort. Sadly, just a few people actually develop the skill of looking at data and seeing a lesson in it. You can ask yourself, what's the real issue here? What would make this progress 10 times easier? This makes you think outside the box. And of course, 10 now would be time estimation and prioritization. At all times, we estimate how long things are going to take, whether or not I can squeeze in a certain task, if we are capable of doing X before Y starts. And if we do these things badly, time management, then we're constantly stressed and overwhelm ourselves. You can use a digital or analog timer kind of as an exercise to track how long a certain task takes, log that, and then compare it to data to a time when you've improved or changed a certain action. And that being said, thank you very much for watching. Watch this video right here and see you all next time. Goodbye.